Ben Spencer.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Controversially, perhaps, I think that much of this SI is uncontroversial. And the reason behind that is my experience in terms of being recruited to go through medical school. So as part of the recruitment process, it was made very clear to me I had to have Hep B testing, I had to be vaccinated for Hep B, and going through and getting involved in becoming a medical student, this would not happen if that was not the case. And I think that's fair enough. We expect of our health staff vaccination for a variety of conditions, not just hepatitis B, things like chickenpox for people who haven't been exposed, things like rubella, because we know the impact that can have on the patients that we look after or the people we care for. And we know the huge impact COVID has on the most vulnerable in our society. Its lethality, its severity is linked to frailty, and I think one of the most frail groups are people who are living in care. And it's important that people are vaccinated so that they don't unintentionally, when they have asymptomatic COVID, give them COVID and pass it on. We know that rates of vaccination are not high enough to give that protection that's necessary to protect people in care homes. And I think on that basis, I think it's entirely reasonable and a sensible approach to bring forward measures in terms of saying that people have to be vaccinated to work in that setting. Now, that being said, of course, I realise that although that might be what I say a sort of reasonable approach, it's actually quite different to my personal experience as I've just described, because that was a pre-recruitment process I went through. What we're talking about now is a process for people who are currently in post, for people who have been working for quite some time, for people who've got quite a lot of years behind them, and that if they don't go through vaccination, then ultimately they'll be without a job. And that's a big deal. Now, I think it's important also to recognise that people who may decide they don't want to be vaccinated are not evil people. You know, they are not people who should be shown. They're people who make decisions and for whatever reason they may have about vaccination, etc. That's important and that should be respected. Now, fundamentally, this SI I see is about risk. And I see that there's two risks here. One risk is the risk of COVID to people who are living in care settings. And I think that risk is very clear, actually. We've got loads of data on that. We've got loads of data in terms of the impact. We've got loads of data on lethality. We've also got loads of data on the protection that vaccination to people who are at risk of COVID, and also protection of vaccination in terms of reducing transmission, passing it on. So I think that side of the equation, I think, is very clear. The side that's less clear is about the risk to people in terms of staffing. And I think that's really the critical issue here, because there will be people who decide, do you know what, not being vaccinated is more important to me than working in the care sector. And I'm completely unclear as to how many people that's going to be. And I don't think anyone really knows what that population is going to be, what the numbers are going to look like. And that's a concern. We've already got staffing issues in the care sector. This has been a long-term thing for many, many years going forwards. Nevertheless, I think perhaps the only way to test this out is to test it, to bring it forward, to see what happens. I think the 16-week run-in makes a lot of sense, but I think what is critical is that it is monitored and is looked at in terms of what happens with regards to staffing retention. And if it is a big issue, if pressures in terms of retention do start going through, then we have to have a change of course. And I'd welcome if my honourable friend the Minister can say there's something up, what she's going to do over the course of the summer in this being brought up to work and engage with people in the social care sector on the impact of this being brought in, and if there is a substantial impact, that she'll come back before the House after summer recess with plans to mitigate this or change of course. Thank you.